Hello everyone, I'm Jack Fisher and welcome to my world. And even though we're just a couple of weeks into 2025, it feels like that this will be a big year for Marvel's Ultimate Universe. So much was set up in 2024, and a lot more was teased towards the end. But the most exciting announcement for me came with Ultimate Wolverine. This series, written by Chris Condon, promised to give us a new version of Wolverine. Ideally, one who wasn't an insufferable creep like his predecessor. But this version was always going to be different. After the maker remade this universe in Ultimate Invasion, the circumstances for every character have changed. There are no X-Men, no Ultimates, and no Fantastic Four as we typically know them. But even in the maker's absence, his council wields immense power all over the world, and they are not afraid to abuse it. This is what Ultimate Wolverine builds on. And after reading the first issue, I think it's safe to say that this might be the most tragic yet menacing version of Wolverine we've ever gotten. Now, as excited as I was about this issue, I did have some concerns even before it came out. I'll touch a bit on those later, but overall, I am very interested in seeing how this series unfolds, because it offers some really compelling insights into how this twisted world operates. With respect to mutants, the current situation in the Ultimate Universe is complicated. They do exist in this world, but the maker set up a number of mechanisms for controlling and containing them. We don't know all the details. Some have been revealed in Peach Momoko's Ultimate X-Men, but in this series, we find out how they do things in Eurasia. This is the part of the world ruled by Colossus, Omega Red, and magic. And near as we can tell, this is where a good chunk of the mutant population resides. We don't know much about how they live, but we know from flashbacks in the Ultimates that mutants are a major source of problems, and Ultimate Wolverine #1 lays out how the Maker's Council prefers to deal with those problems. They really don't bother with police crackdowns, bombs, or threats. They just send their perfect mutant hunting machine to go after them. And it's not a cliche to say that he's the best there is at what he does. But his nature and his origin? This is where Ultimate Wolverine mixes things up a bit. While he did come from the North American Union, which is just North America in this Ultimate Universe, he somehow ended up in Eurasia. And while he did go by Logan, it's confirmed that he never went through the Weapon X program. Now this definitely has some implications, because we saw in previous Ultimate books that the program did exist. We even saw an adamantium skeleton on display in one of the Maker's archives. But that probably wasn't Logan. And in this issue, we learned that that program was a total failure. They never found anyone who could survive the conditioning. But Logan, in almost every Marvel universe, can survive damn near anything. His healing factor has always been key to making him so deadly. And that same deadliness comes into play here, but through a very different process. Instead of making him Weapon X, the Maker's Council turns him into the Winter Soldier. Now, we don't learn all the particulars of this process, but it's every bit as brutal as Weapon X, if not more so. There's also reference to a telepath who is not named or shown that completely erased his memory. And from there, the Council effectively conditions him to hunt down his targets, take them out, and kill anything in his way without hesitation. That may sound like Weapon X, but make no mistake, when we see Wolverine in action here, it's very different and way more effective. He is not some snarling rage monster. This Wolverine is cold and calculating. He doesn't growl or yell, he doesn't make any snide remarks, he doesn't even smoke cigars or chug whiskey. He just jumps into battle without a parachute, lands without breaking a sweat, and tears into his targets with ruthless efficiency. And among those targets are an ultimate version of Nightcrawler and Mystique. But sadly, we don't get a chance to learn much about them. We only know that they're part of an organized resistance against Eurasia and the Maker's Council. But it really doesn't matter how organized they are. Wolverine still cuts through them with ease. And even though Nightcrawler does recognize him and tries to get through to him, it does not work. There's not even a hint of conflict with Wolverine. He ultimately kills Nightcrawler even as he's praying for him. Now, I need to take a step back here and admit something. The day before this issue came out, some spoilers leaked on Reddit. And when I saw them, my attitude toward this series shifted somewhat. Because killing off two prominent X-Men characters this quickly and in the first issue that had me worried that this new Ultimate Universe was falling into the same traps as its predecessor. Recklessly killing major characters was a big part of what caused the decline of the former Ultimate Universe. It was a terrible gimmick, being able to do things that couldn't be done in the mainline comics. It was also a dumb gimmick that wore off quickly, and it really helped accelerate the downfall of the former Ultimate Universe. However, after reading through Ultimate Wolverine #1, those concerns did lessen somewhat. I still hope that this series doesn't rack up too much of a body count, but the way this issue set up Ultimate Wolverine, and with the way the Makers Council has been set up in previous comics, I think it actually works here. The deaths in this issue effectively convey a critical message about this version of Wolverine. He is not the same conflicted brute we know from other universes. He's just a stone-cold assassin, tool that the Makers Council has honed to be effective, lethal, and devastating. He is essentially the best of Weapon X and the best of the Winter Soldier, minus both of their weaknesses. Yes, it is sad and frustrating that Kurt and Mystique were casualties, but their loss is part of what makes Ultimate Wolverine #1 feel more like a tragedy rather than just needless death. There's even a hint at the end that these actions still affect Wolverine on a personal level. He may not have any memories, but killing Nightcrawler still hit him hard. And with more familiar X-Men characters set to show up in future issues, there's a good chance he'll face other effects. And therein lies the most compelling part of Ultimate Wolverine. This first issue showed just how dangerous he is under the Maker's control. He's far more effective than Weapon X or the Winter Soldier could ever be in another Marvel universe. But that raises the question, what happens when they lose control over him? What happens if Ultimate Wolverine stops taking orders and joins the Resistance? That would create a whole new host of problems that nobody on the Makers Council is equipped to handle. And with the Maker not set to return for another year, it could cause huge disruptions that bleed out into other Ultimate titles. If that's the route that Ultimate Wolverine goes, then I'm all for it. I still think there's a major risk in killing off too many familiar characters. But if this series can balance out the brutality with the tragic drama that so defines Wolverine, then it can definitely become a catalyst for some major upheavals in this new Ultimate Universe moving forward. Thanks for watching, everyone, and thanks for joining me in my world. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and until next time, take care and stay safe.